I would say we're back, but we're not quite back yet. Let me just restart my screen flow here so that way we're back officially. And then I'll say we're back. All right, we're back. It's COMP397, web game programming for the winter 2016 semester, and it's week 11, part 1 of our broadcast. And I want to talk about final projects. Now, luckily or unluckily, over the last couple of weeks, we haven't been together as much as I'd like. But it is what it is, so we have to kind of adjust some of our output for the final project. I want to direct you to the stuff that you see online. Let's take a look at the final project details. So the first part of the final project says it's the JavaScript arcade game. Right now, we've only done, there's 3 we've done. We've done the you know, kind of the dragon, which is kind of like a, you know, choose your own adventure kind of game, based on the old text-based games back in the day, retro kind of gaming. We've done a slot machine, which is kind of a UI-based game, where you click some buttons and things happen, right? So you're emulating something or simulating a slot machine. And the final one is the first real 2D game we made, which was a side scroller, or I showed you the top-down version of it called Mail Pilot. And for assignment 3, you're supposed to do a side scroller. So so either alone or as a team of up to 3, you will create your own original 2D arcade game. Now you could base it off the side scroller if you really so wish to do that, or you can make your own. Let's say, for example, you wanted to make a top-down game, like almost like some kind of strategy type game, or whatever. You're totally it's okay for you to do that. You could make a platform game or a tower defense. I really warn you against doing tower defense. It's just you don't have no time. So it's not because you can't do such a thing. It's just we're in the crunch and we only have a few weeks, and there's not a lot of time for us to produce something like that. 3/4 down, kind of like isometric adventure game. Again, it can be done with tiles and tile mapping and all that kind of stuff, but it's quite complex unless you know how to import stuff with you know, tiles into your system. So it can be challenging to do. My recommendation is you do some kind of scrolling game, or worst case, a platform game. Those are the 2 things that I recommend. And what that means is that I'm probably going to get a bunch of stuff that you've done already, like for your side scroller with assignment 3, and someone's going to try and give me, like, you know, a blue screen, a red screen, and a yellow screen, and they're all the same level, but they're telling me it's different levels. Please don't do that. I kind of say it every single time, but somehow I still get that, right? And I also still get myself going, yay, you know, like, you know, that kind of stuff. Please, I don't want to have any Mail Pilot sounds. I even got them in your assignment 3. Some of your assignment 3s, I had the ocean. Someone used my ocean. Someone used the Mail Pilot stuff. Like, it's crazy. That's nuts. I even said, use your own assets, but people still use my assets for whatever reason. They expect to get full marks. Not going to happen. They even use my code. This is the other one that I got. I got some people, I'm not going to say who, they use my code. They didn't even change the names of the classes. It says cloud, right? And they just changed the assets so that it doesn't look like a cloud. It looks like something else, right? Guys, this is all failure stuff, right? So if you did this kind of work, if you handed me cloud and now it's a car instead of a cloud, that's not good. You won't get full marks, right? That's the kind of stuff that makes me crazy, right? I mean, it doesn't take much for you to rename your assets and make them call your classes and objects something else, right? Don't call them clouds and islands, right? You know, that means it's just a little bit more care. So what am I looking for here? I'm looking for a menu screen, which you know how to do because you already have an example of an asset, of a state machine or scene manager, if you will. And that's, I'm going to look at that Mail Pilot in a second, and I'll talk about that. There's an instruction screen, which we've never done, right? That's something new, right? So you have to put together an instruction screen for your game. And that's just like another state or scene apart from the regular scenes. And instead of doing 1 game level, you need to do 3 game levels, which means you need to put together a couple more. All right, now this is not difficult. If you're working with a partner and you've already produced 1 game level from assignment number 3 as your starting template, right? That means each one of you have to come up with another game level, right? And produce it for over the next 3 weeks. Guys, not difficult, especially if you have a working version and some game mechanics already in play. This is not undoable for you guys to do, okay? Where it becomes undoable and not happening is when you try and make something out of the blue new, right? Now, this is very challenging to do. Or you only have 2 people and you really need a 3rd person to help you make something like this, right? please don't try and bite off more than you can chew here. I keep saying that every semester, by the way, that same phrase, don't bite off more than you can chew. And they're like, I don't understand what that means. It means that don't try and do more than is possible over the next 3 weeks. Keep it small, but keep it effective. Make sure that everything you do is good, but it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be like, full of, crazy functions that I didn't ask for. Trying to get through all the bonus points and all that kind of stuff is not the way to, do great on this particular assignment. It's hitting all the requirements. That's what I want you to do for this one, okay? So again, you need a menu screen, an instruction screen, 3 game level screens, a game over screen, and you need to have a scoring system, which we already had in assignment 3, your own graphic and sound assets. Let me say that again, your own graphic and sound assets, right? That means you download them from somewhere else and they don't look like mine, all right? So no ocean or clouds or islands or anything else that you've seen that I've given you, please, right? You may choose a web API like Create.js, but if you wanted to use Phaser for this last assignment, because Phaser is another popular 2D game framework, it's okay. I can't train you on Phaser because it would have required another 3 or 4 weeks to do. We don't have 3 or 4 weeks for me to train you on Phaser so you can produce a game with it. But there's a lot of good documentation out there on how to put one together. Also, note what it says here. You may use the output from an assignment from a team member as a starter template. So if you and one of your team members decides to use one of their assignments, let's say, I don't know, Selena and I we're going to work together, and I really like Selena's, assignment 3. I want to use Selena's assignment 3, so we're going to use her assignment 3 as our first game level for our final project, right? That's okay. I'm not going to hand in Selena's assignment 3. It's not going to say Selena assignment 3. It's going to say final project, game level 1. That's what it's going to say, right? Or we're going to say final project part 1. That's going to be your first assessment, right? And also, even though her game level, let's say I want to use Selena's game level because she's got everything good together. She already got a menu. She already got a game end screen. Saves a little bit of time. I'm just guessing here. She already got a couple things going on that I really like. She's got good assets. It looks good. All that kind of stuff. I still may need to change it for my final project because my final project is going to extend what she's already done in assignment 3 if we're going to choose Selena's game, right? So what does that mean? It means I might have to make it a little longer. I may have to add additional features on that at level 1 in order for it to make sense for level 2 and level 3. And how do you transition from level 1 to level 2 and level 3? It could be points. You get a number of points. So your first goal is to get 2,000 points. And after you get 2,000 points, bam, you're into level 2. But make sure that it says level 2 when you get into level 2, eh? Don't just go from a blue screen to a black screen to a yellow screen. And that's somehow I know I'm the next level. Or don't make it continuous. It's not a jetpack, joyride kind of idea, right? Where you're doing level 1 and you keep on scrolling. At the end of the scroller and you get to level 2, then level 2 comes over like this. Don't do that. All right? That's not what I want. I want you to make each level its own scene. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. It's not one continuous scene, and I don't want it to be. If you're making something that's procedurally generated, so it's random every single time, your first level, don't make it so that you say, well, my first level is like thousands of levels, right? Because it's not just one level. I can play forever. No. Okay, it's not what I want. Also, please don't take 3 people. If you're working with 3 people, don't take the first level from person A and the first level from person B and the first level from person C and then slap it together to make a new game. All right, it's not what I'm looking for either. I'm just saying these are the things that that comes at me every time. It always comes at me, and the answer is always no. Right? I don't know how I can say it better. Make it so that choose one template, one person's template. Don't choose 2 people's templates and put it together, even if they're very similar. Make it different. All right, so make it so that you choose one person. If I like Selena's template, but I also have an assignment 3, and Albert, he's got a great assignment 3. So me, Selena, and Albert, we put ours together and we put 3 assignment 3s and make it a final project. It's a fail. Okay, just letting you know. There's no work to be done. Just linking stuff together. No, that's not what I'm asking for here. Please, I know I'm saying this, and you guys are saying, why does he keep talking about it? Because it always happens every single semester, and someone's going to get 0 for this thing. Actually, it's probably going to happen this semester too, no matter how much I talk about it, right? And I hate that. I hate that because it's 30% of your final mark, which can really drive down your marks at the end. Please don't do this. It's not a good thing. please, what I want you to do is have some fun, make something that, extend what you have, that you already have. If you really liked assignment 3, like I like Selena's assignment 3, let's say, then I want to make an extension of assignment 3. I'm going to say, hey, Selena, can I work with you? Hey, I got an idea. This is what I want you to do today. I got an idea for level 2. Here's what I want to do with your assets, and maybe a few more, with some other backgrounds and a different goal. I'm thinking this for level 2. What do you think? And then, have a conversation with Selena. And then Selena says, yeah, I kind of agree, Tom. This is what I was thinking for level 1. And then what about level 3? Okay, level 3, let's make level 3 a little bit harder level. And we'll add a boss monster at the end for the bonus. We'll plan it now, right? So Selena and I work together because her and I are partners. And then finally we come up with level 1, 2, and 3 that kind of mesh together. There's a theme to the whole thing, right? With maybe some kind of splash screen at the beginning for extra points, right? That kind of say, here's my game. So it's one complete game from end to end. That's what I'm looking for, okay? And that's what this project is about. Does it have to be a project that takes 80 hours? No, it doesn't have to be, because you already have level 1. And probably the menu already. You just need to do some renaming, okay? So rename your project so it says final project, right? That kind of thing would be good. Rename some of your objects so they make sense, and test everything before you hand it in to make sure it works. So that would be very bad. You hand in something and I test it and I'm like, scratch, scratch, scratch. No, I don't understand why, but this doesn't work. What? So that's really what this game is about. 3 levels, your intro screen, which is, so a menu screen and instruction screen, which says, okay, use your mouse and keyboard to play this game. Scoring, you have to pick up this kind of stuff. How do you score? How do you do, how do you do these things? These are things that you'd be required to do. By the way, a lot of the stuff you have already from assignment 3, right? So it's just like, not regurgitating, but retooling it a little bit so it works in your final project, okay? So you have these things to take care of. One thing is, for your avatar, again, it could be a vehicle or character. It doesn't have to be some kind of vehicle. It could be whatever you want it to be. It could be enemies or hazards. It doesn't have to be something you kill all the time. Like it's not about killing in this game, right? Random opportunities to generate points means maybe a pickup, like a treasure or some kind of bonus item you're going to pick up. That's what I'm talking about here. And it's random means that it could be randomly seated, or maybe you put them throughout your level in random locations. It doesn't have to be randomly generated by the system. What I mean is, to the player, it looks random. Like it's like here, 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 throughout your level. And then you're going to pick up these things. And then finally, when you get them all, you get some pickups that potentially will lead to more points for the player, right? Sound effects and a game soundtrack is required. So those things are required these days. Notice that one thing that's not required is animation. And that's something that I may cover over the next course of weeks. So a couple weeks, I'll cover how to do animation with 2D, because that's built into Create.js, not that difficult, how to page swap and everything else. I might cover some other smaller technologies, but again, if I teach anything for you over the next 2 Fridays, it's going to be an hour, and the rest is going to be project time, right? Where we sit down and I review what you got from the previous week and see how your progress is. So please come in for the next few Fridays. I know it's tough to be in class, right? But I want to, see you every day until the end of the semester now, so that way I can make sure that you guys are on track, and so I can mark you. If you can't make it in, make sure your other team members are in. Someone from the team has to be in so I can review your work, so I can mark you, okay? That means, like, if there's 3 of you, that at least 1 of you has to be here, right? I know that's demanding, with all the load you guys have, 6 courses, whatever, sometimes more. But I need you guys to be in for those kind of things. And again, we have to talk about the final day. If we're not going to do an exam, it means it's going to be a presentation that I mark, and which means all of you have to be here for the final day, right? It's like an exam. So it can't be like, well, Tom, I can't make it for the final day. I know there's no exam, so I'm just like taking it off, and I'm just going to send one of my team members to kind of present for my team. No, no, no. Everyone's got to be here for that day, because you have to all stand up and talk about your game. This is part of the requirement. Or we'll just do an exam. Whatever you want, right? So it's either exam or presentation. The presentation is easier. And we'll talk about the requirements for the presentation, not this week, but next week, right? So that way everyone knows what's required. Okay, internal documentation is normal, and we're going to be talking about, again, continuously documenting your work. The external document always is regrettably lacking for most people, right? They put the bare minimum in here, and they don't do wireframes. They do screenshots every single time, even though I keep saying, put wireframes. What's wireframes? Drawings. Draw what your level is going to look like.
Even if you sketch it on a napkin and take a picture of it and put it inside your document, it's better than it's a screen. It's not a screenshot. How can you take a screenshot for Monday? You have nothing. What are you gonna do? Take a picture of your assignment 3, right? That's not your final project. I want sketches. I want to understand. Hey, if you already have a sketch from assignment 3 in your document, take it and put it into this new document as a first level, right? I mean, it's just a matter of you reusing some of this stuff because you're creating almost like a pitch for me. This is the stuff that you're going to make this game. You're saying, hey, I'm pitching this a game idea. I want some funding, from you. You're the client. What do you think? That's what this whole thing is about, this concept idea, right? So it's a bit of planning that I'm asking you to do. And like it says here in 3F, take a look at 3F. It says wireframes. It doesn't say screenshots. Screenshots are G. And you can't produce screenshots until you're probably well on your way to the second part. If you do part 2, then screenshots are going to be something you require. Notice that even though I say your first draft, here's your first draft of your external document is due this Monday, but there's nothing mentioned here or here, it means that what I'm asking for is please submit the second draft on part 2 and the third draft or final draft on part 3 of your external document because you need to update it. You can't do screenshots, but maybe part 2 you can do some screenshots, and by the last one, part 3, you can certainly do some screenshots because you're going to have your third level and your instruction screen. So notice what's due this Monday, your first draft and your menu scene. That's it, which means a little bit of site structure. So your site has to function. If you're going to make your menu scene work, that means your game project has to kind of be, a skeleton has to be there for assignment number 1 or assignment number 3, right? If you include your first level in your submission, because it's easier for you to do that, it's okay. But I'm not marking you on it until part 2, okay? Just let you know, because sometimes it's difficult for you to extract your first level to make a clean break from assignment 3. It's okay. I'm not going to look at it. All I care about is, do I have a menu? Do I have you have the game? The name of the game has to have a menu of what your game is, and so on, and kind of a first draft of what you're building. What is this game about? Also, in your external document, I really want you to put in the name of the people that are involved in the project. All right. So, am I working with Selena and Albert? And if I am, that's great. Or am I working with Sean? Who am I working with in the class, right? If whoever I'm working with, I need to have that in my document as an example, right? Also, please put the names of the people that you're working with in your submission up on eCentennial. So if I go on eCentennial, only one person needs to submit, eh? I don't need like 3 submissions in the same project. It doesn't make any sense. One person submits, you tell me who your partners are, they get the same mark as you. Yeah, that's what it works like. Notice that the first part, the game concept, is worth 10%, right? Because there's some extra stuff you need to do for Monday. And it's kind of like we don't have a lot of time for you to produce that. I've kind of scaled things equally for this game, for this project, and because of the difficulty in putting things together. Part 2 is also worth 10%, and you're doing your first and second level. Well, you already have your first level probably done here, so really you're only getting the second level is really what I'm going to be looking at, and how it melds with the first level. How do I transition from first level to second level? And some basic mechanics, your scoring system, all that should be in place for first and second levels. And that's due not this week, this Monday, but the following Monday. So that's week 13, right? So next week on Friday, what am I going to be asking for? Show me your first and second levels, how you're progressing, right? I'm gonna look at those things because that's due on the following Monday, right? So I'm gonna look at those things with you. And then your final part 3 is the third level, the final level, and your instruction screen. And the reason why I plotted it that way is for your instruction screen, you can't really put all that together until you have your whole game together. Maybe you want to give instructions on how to play each level as well in your instruction screen, or maybe make it a multi-part instructions. Again, the more you add, the more bonus marks you're going to get. So this whole project is worth 30% of your final grade, 10, 10, 10. There's 78 points for your project. That means 26 points for each part, right? That I'm going to be looking at. And this is not including the final presentation. The final presentation is a separate item that we'll be putting together over the next week or so. And then I'll be talking about what I'm going to require. That means that for your final presentation, if you have you and 2 other people, I'm going to use Selena and Albert, for example, one more time. Sorry, I apologize, guys. I know you don't like working with me, but just let's say, okay, I'll use Francis too. So Francis, Selena, and Albert, they get together, right? I'm putting some names out there, right? And they get together and they're going to do their project together, right? Let's just say. So they're going to present it, and what's probably going to happen for this one is they're going to come to the podium over here, right? Someone's going to bring their laptop.
They're going to put it down in front of it, and they're going to present on the screen, and they got 10 minutes to sell the idea to you guys. Here's my project. Here's my game. This is what we did. This is how we put it together. We used Selena's project as a basis for our assignment 3 for our project. And then we made level 2 and level 3, and they're a little bit different here. They've got some extra enemies and more challenge. It's not faster. Okay, I don't want to see the second level be faster with the first level, but second level faster. Don't do that, right? That's like really boring and it's unplayable. It's just new. It's different, right? And here's the whole game. Here's what we could have done differently. This is some of the challenges we had. And if I had more time, I would do blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of stuff that you're going to talk about in your final presentation. That's probably going to be worth 15% of your final grade, your presentation, right? So it's pretty heavy duty. What I'm looking for is PowerPoint presentation. I don't want you just to come up here and just talk, right? I want you to demo it. I want to see some structure to the presentation, and I will give you all the details of that in another project, another little assignment, right? So it'll be replacing your exam. So think about your presentation. Take it seriously because it's your exam, right? It's an evaluation of how you put together your project and a culmination of things that you've done in the class. Like things like, you know what, it was really hard to learn TypeScript. And you know, finally after all this time, I kind of understand how it works, but I don't like it, right? You can say these things. Or, you know what, I really like TypeScript because it helps me with, you know, understanding JavaScript and producing a larger application, right? That kind of thing. So those are the things that I want you to think about when you put together your final presentation. Not all courses for us are going to have final presentations. Okay, I have 15% left here instead of 10% like the other course, like the other classes. For example, I have some other classes for COMP397 and 305. There will not be presentations for those. Okay, for this semester. I will do some other activities during that time, other labs that I will be putting together. They will have to produce to get the extra 5% here and 5% there. I don't want to burden you guys with that stuff because this is the first time, if you're doing COMP397, first time you're doing some kind of JavaScript work with an arcade-style game, it's a lot of work. Plus, you have the other projects that you probably have from me anyway. I told you, it's Tom's show, right? So you're overloaded with projects and give you more stuff to do. I don't find it's right? So any questions around this thing? One thing to note is, one thing I didn't cover, sorry, is of course, it's live on GitHub, right? And Azure, right? I said Azure or Heroku. You can make one or the other. To do Heroku with this one, you have to make your site node compatible, right? Because Heroku doesn't do an HTML app. It won't do that. It'll do PHP or it'll do Node. It'll do something else, but not HTML. So that means you have to kind of create a Node wrapper for your app in order for it to work with Heroku. So my recommendation to keep it simple is make it work in Azure, right? So it has to be live on somewhere where I can see it. And of course, so nothing that you haven't seen before, and of course, GitHub. And when you're working with another partner or partners, I want to see everybody on GitHub contributing as equally as possible, right? So I don't want to see like, so I don't know, I'm going to say, you know, Francis and Albert work together this time in this scenario. So they're in front of me. That's why I'm saying it over and over. Okay, I'll say Cece. Cece and Francis and Albert, they work together. Not Selena, you're not working with them anymore, okay? And then, you know, it's going to be Cece's GitHub project, right? She's the one that's going to be putting it up, right? And you know what? Cece does all the work. I see all the work from her, but Francis and Albert, I see nothing on the GitHub, right? Yeah, that's bad, right? I want to see a little bit of contribution from Albert and from Francis because you guys are all working together as a team, right? And the questions I always get for that one is, how do I use GitHub, right? I don't understand. I still don't get how to use GitHub, Tom. How do I use it? How do I, you know, collaborate on GitHub? And the best way, of course, to collaborate is I like the idea of passing the baton. Please pass the baton. Use that method. Don't try and branch a bunch of times and merge and all that stuff. It can become very difficult if you haven't done that work before in a project-based environment. I know you guys are laughing because you probably try to merge and branch, right? Yeah. It broke your project, right? Because you guys don't have that yet. And the other way to do it is to do a pull request. That's the other way to do it. So you have one main guy, he has the project, so Cece's project, and then I submit a pull request to Cece, and then she pulls it into her project, and it becomes the next commit. That's another way to do it. But you know, again, the easiest way to do it is to do this idea of passing the baton. So let's say, for example, Cece and I are working together. She does the first part. I pull her project down to my operating system. I do my work, add my stuff in, push it up to GitHub. She pulls it from GitHub. She does her work, pushes it back up to GitHub. I take it from GitHub, I do my work, push it back up to GitHub, and we kind of exchange that way in that kind of method. I mean, it's a little cumbersome and awkward, but at least it doesn't break your project, right? So, you know, think about how ways of making this up. Worst case scenario, what was that? Effectively this way, but you can always work on your a separate clone of the project over here. You're done, right? And then you pull the project down and you take your changes, slap it onto the clone, onto the combined project and push it back up, right? So there's other ways to do it. It's not like you have to be limited to only one person working at a time. You can always work all together, but the only thing is make a clone of the original project and don't touch her files. If Cece and I are working together, I'm not going to work on the stuff she's working on. I'm working on my stuff, right? So then I won't interfere with her. And when I combine my stuff with her stuff, then I'm not going to kill her stuff, right? I'm going to pull her stuff down first, then add my stuff in, and then pull it up, push it up. That's what I'm going to do. But we can still work separately. Questions around final project? First part due Monday at midnight, okay, for you and your partners. What I want you to do today, after I do a little presentation on MailPilot to fix that up, is I want you to find your partner, start putting together your documentation. So by the end of the day, we might be able to knock off that documentation. Your first part, we can get it done today. So we don't have to wait. I don't want to give you work on the weekend. Fix it, finish it, guys. Hand it in so it's done. And there's nothing for you to do for the weekend. And then that first part, I'll review with you next week when we get together on Friday. Okay? So that's the first part. I'm going to stop recording this one because this is all around your final project. And then I'm going to start another recording on just finishing up collisions with MailPilot, because we didn't have a chance to do that last time. Let's do that.